So way up in the extreme northwest of Russia is a peninsula, the Kola Peninsula, and it is one of the largest in Europe. It's also almost entirely within the Arctic Circle. And even though technically the Kola Peninsula is Russian territory, it is actually, if one wants to think about where it is, it borders Norway, Finland, and Sweden. So if you think about a Swedish pyramid, or a Finnish pyramid, or a Norwegian pyramid, now you might more accurately understand the region of where we're talking about. And as we all know, up in that area, it's beautiful with the aurora borealis. Again, something that is viewed because of the parking of the moon, seeding the planet, and giving us that ability to study the planetary system from that viewpoint. But it's not so much precisely it's the climate that attracts the most attention this day and age, but the pyramids that are twice as old as the Egyptian pyramids. The region of this world extends from the Barents Sea, with which its borders to the north, and with the White Sea in the eastern and southeastern limits. According to historians, it is one of the oldest regions of the planet, where civilization began to arrive as early as the 5th millennium before the Common Era. But in the 1st millennium BC, only the inhabitants of the traditional Sami people remained in the region. This is why it is believed that the Sami were the authors of what are now only underground ruins of what may once have been great pyramids. Today, the Sami people still inhabit the region, and in fact, they consider the northern area of the peninsula sacred, which is where the alleged large pyramid is located. So it's not clear whether the pyramids in Russia, which that's different from the story we were just talking about, the pyramids in Russia are the ones that we're talking about, were built by an ancient civilization. Yes, they were. But some venture to believe that they could be the traces of the vanished Hyperborea. And that all connects back to what we've been talking about with the planet being Atlantis before the original flooding, and the coup d'etat within the government, which is the downfall of Atlantis. And after that, history's been rewritten so many times, and we as a people have been divided so many times, it's just not even funny. So unfortunately, there's not much information about the Russian pyramids, but according to the archaeologists who have ventured to the Kola Peninsula, the structures are twice as old as the pyramids of Giza, and the estimates suggest that they could date back over 40,000 years. The structures are aligned in the east-west direction, so it is believed that they may have served as astronomical observatories. And we talk about this in all of our episodes, how the pyramids are connected to the moon. The moon controls the weather and the planet, and keeps us, the moon is the rudder to the planet as well, and keeps us on a course correction in the grand precession. That is what creates our astronomy, astrology, the North Star, and everything that has become all of our traditions, no matter what religious background you come from, no matter what civilization you come from. We all have the history of the Great Flood. We all have certain combined historical traits, which proves, again, since these pyramids are literally all over this planet, that we were once a united planet, and we are all indigenous to this world. I'm tired of every government and all of their mechanics and tools of destruction and division trying to further separate and segregate us. This planet belongs to everybody. It belongs to we the people. We populated it. We seeded it. We were put here to have our heaven. And unfortunately, certain people got greedy. They created kingdoms. Those kingdoms became statehoods. Those statehoods became empires. And so on and so on and so on. Now we have countries. Countries are still divided by provinces or states. States divided by cities or towns. And it just goes on and on and on. Now, obviously, we need local representation. But what happens when they steal your local representation from you? Which is what has been done. And I'm not talking about way back in the past. I'm talking about today. The duopoly monopoly, the two-party dictatorship, has removed your accurate representation. And I'm not talking about with the flooding of all the immigrants. We'll get into that story later. But our Constitution provides that we have one representative to up to 30,000 inhabitants. And that's just not the case. We're about 10,000 representatives shy. Now, I know people like saying that the Constitution was written in a time that didn't understand what the future would bring. And again, I submit that the people that say that are wrong, that the people that wrote the Constitution have been around way longer than people think. And the Constitution, the original ones that ours is based off, has been around even a lot longer. Atlantis, as we all know, goes back for how long? They have the original Constitution. Peace and harmony and unity is obviously the goal for a unified planet. But if certain people become greedy and they want certain things for themselves, then they create means of division and they find further ways of creating hate and pitting one person against another, one region against another. You know, it started with friendly sportsmanship. If you remember the Aztec games, and the losing game would have to commit suicide, they would be punished to death. The game was similar to basketball in certain aspects. And this tradition far predates the Aztecs, but the Aztecs and the Mayan are probably the closest remnants we have that they were able to sneak through folklore and knowledge of from the old world. Because throughout all the ages, the evil powers that be have been trying to erase it. They can't stand it. They can't stand the true heritage that we're all united. We all come from the same place. We seeded this planet with the moon. We put the pyramids here to communicate with the moon while this planet is growing. This is a beautiful growing planet. She is growing. And to monitor that growth and course correct the moon to keep it habitable for human and other life forms. Some like to keep that knowledge to themselves, and the power and the glory that goes with it.
Can you hear me? Over. Wait, no. Can I?